getting interview. I wasn't getting, no company was calling me for interview,
Yeah.
And I just felt like what could be wrong, what could be wrong with my applications and all of that.
Hey, Toby.
There we go! There we go! Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. You know what I'm talking about? Nah, I'm the host right now. Welcome to our YouTube channel, you know what I'm saying?
Hi guys. because I promised you another episode of my chat with Toby on this channel, but we've decided to do something a little bit different, which is basically playing FIFA while we chat about our experience from transitioning from being a student to being a working class in America. If you've not seen the first part of the video, you should definitely go watch the first part where we had a chat about our experience from moving from Nigeria down to the United States, and the things that you should look out for as an international student and the things that you should keep in mind as far as like navigating the entire process is concerned. So in this part of the video, we're going to talk about how we're able to transition from being a student to being a working class in America. I think I graduated a semester before you.
Yeah.
But as fate will have it, I graduated, I moved down to a different state, and he also graduated, he got a job in the same state and then moved down here.
Yeah.
And so most of the things that we chat about as we play this FIFA is going to be centered around how to transition from being a student to being a working class. And before we go forward, he has a goal now.
I thought you were going to talk about it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm beating this guy and I'm beating your host. I'm beating your favorite host.
It's okay. I am not worried because I know
right now
that I'm quite better at the game than he is. Just keep that in mind. But I'm going to be asking him questions regarding applying for jobs, getting a job, getting offer, negotiating the offer, and just navigating the entire workplace situation as far as being an international student is concerned. What advice do you have as regards to transitioning from being a student to being a working class? I think off camera we're talking about in the past, there's been situations where people feel very comfortable staying a student because as long as you remain an F1 student, your status is very much valid, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what advice do you have in that regard? How would you advise people to think about their process of changing from being a student to being a working class?
First of all, I think let me pause at this point. I think I would say the mindset behind transitioning from being a student to getting into corporate America, getting into the workforce and all of that, is that it's a job on its own. You don't have the job yet. You're not here in the system, but you need to think of it as this is a job on its own. Like getting a job in America is a job on its own.
That's true.
That's it. It's a lot of work, and I mean, some people have it easy, some people navigate very smoothly, but for the most part, like looking at it statistics wise, it's always a lot of work to get that done. You can be fortunate enough to get it easy and all of that, but it's a lot of work. I'll be honest with you. That's a mindset first for everybody. Yeah. You work on your CV, you talk to people. You also want to know, okay, what are the roles I need to apply for? I think that's a major problem with a lot of people too. I mean, people are like, oh, what role do I need to apply for? The job title. Because there are so many funny job titles that you would not know you qualify for those positions.
That's true.
But because of, especially for international students who are so used to doctor,
engineer,
do you even know nurses there are nurses who are not even working in hospital at all.
Yeah, they're monitoring clinical trial or doing stuff.
I mean, they are not even in. So those are like things you want to research into, know the area you want to go into, talk to people. I'm not going to that really, really works. Yeah.
Well, that's really good because I was going to ask you a question about what do you think, do you still remember the number of jobs that you applied for before you landed your current role? I think it's something very important to think about.
To put...
That's a goal, but keep talking.
No, I'm discouraged. You have to pause this.
What do you mean?
You have to pause this now.
Continue.
So honestly speaking, I'm very honest. I can't remember the number of roles I applied for, number of jobs that I applied for. I really didn't put that into. But I'm telling you the truth. I wake up every morning, see anything that I fit into, look at the job description, I'm there. My CV is there.
Yeah.
LinkedIn was my Instagram at that time.
Yeah.
I go there and all of those things. Another thing is, don't be discouraged by what you see on LinkedIn. Don't let like people
Number of applicants,
You will see 200, and if you even look at the demographics, they tell you that PhD students, people in graduate have applied
Apply for this job.
Those can be very discouraging
Yeah.
and all of that. And it's not, another thing I'm going to say is, it's not only LinkedIn where you can see jobs. There are some states that have some specific websites.
Job board.
Yes. Those are places where some companies will just post theirs on.
That's
there,
why I found my job. It wasn't on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I had to go to a particular job board for my
State.
field and in that particular state. Yes.
So those are things you also want to look into. It's not just, it's everything is on LinkedIn, it's on Indeed. You can also look for exactly, you can look for jobs in other. So being specific, for me, I can't tell you the number of jobs I applied to. I applied to a lot of jobs.
Okay.
And
Yeah. Well, so in my case, do you want to continue the game?
Oh,
it's
I'm getting discouraged.
No, you should. I frankly, I don't think we should pause when we score. Don't pause. Let's keep playing.
I'm not sure if I can do this.
Hey, we can.
This is really hard, okay?
I know, but that's the fun part of it, right?
Yeah.
Because
right.
To see how like focused and distracted
you can be at the same time.
Yeah. But I was gonna say that in my case, honestly, at some point I was tracking it. And then I stopped tracking after like 100 or thereabouts. Or
wow,
like,
100 jobs?
100, that's a small number to be honest.
Yeah.
I think I stopped tracking, and the reason why I stopped tracking was because I realized that it wasn't very helpful. It's not a data that is gonna get me anywhere. I'd rather spend my time applying for more jobs than trying to track the jobs that I've applied for.
Yeah.
But I asked that question for two main reasons. Number one, you want to be like, people anticipate that, oh, why am I not getting response, or why am I not getting a job offer already? I've applied to 50 jobs. No, that is the beginning. People that I've spoken to over the years, honestly, it's not strange to apply for anywhere between like 200 to 300 jobs, because the case is also kind of different for international students.
Yeah.
You have to put that into consideration, where like the odds are not extremely your favor.
Yeah.
But that's not to discourage you in any way, shape, or form. So that's something to keep in mind. And you said something about resume that I really want to touch on before we move forward.
Okay.
How did you get your resume to meet like the American workforce standard? Because I know we have different type of resume where we're from.
Yeah.
What did you do? How did you get your resume right?
So to be honest, when I started applying for jobs, I was really
that's another goal. But continue.
So I'm better at this. It's because I'm distracted.
It's
so you
not,
get that.
because
Note that if this is not in my favor at the end of the day, I'm telling you the reason why it's not in my favor.
We've played thousands of these games together. I say this all the time, but continue.
So I would say, like, when I started applying for jobs, I had, this is my resume from Nigeria. That's what I've been using. Then I realized that I wasn't getting interview. No company was calling me for interview, you know.
Yeah.
And I just felt like, what could be wrong? You know, what could be wrong with my applications and all of that? Maybe I need to fix my CV. This is not like this is largely on the way I structured it. What are the relevant things that I was supposed to put on there that I didn't like put on it? So those are like things I looked into. So one of the times I discussed with somebody who was already working in biomedical science, like around there.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, okay, Toby, send me your CV. Let's work on it. Shout out to my friend Feyi. Thank you. So he called me and he was like, oh, guy, send your CV over. Let's work on it. So we worked on it. Then he looked at the keywords that I had on my CV, the responsibilities, and all of that. I mean, you have pretty good experience. But you are not wording this thing right. Like they're
not capturing
the things, the job description, the stuff you're applying for, you know.
Yeah.
So we got to a point of, okay, now let's work on this together. So we did that, and I'll be very honest with you. We started working on it on Friday. We were done working on it on Friday. I went back to applying for job, and the following week I got response from 2 companies. Like,
yeah, I remember you had an offer in Boston.
Yeah, there was one from Harvard. There was one from.
Yeah, I remember in particular.
Yeah. So that's how I got my interviews. I think I got like 3 that same week.
Yeah.
And so, and there's also the stage of preparing for interviews.
Yes, I'm hoping we'll talk about that in a little bit. So, so one point that I really like to make in this part of the video is that no matter how good you think your resume in Nigeria is,
Mhm.
I think it's important to have another person that is familiar with the system in America look into your resume.
Yeah.
Because 9 out of 10 times, it's probably not highlighting your experience in a way that would get American employer interested in what you have to do.
Exactly.
So keep that in mind, because I was also a victim of that. And the way that I navigated that was by talking to somebody just like you did. And it was more like the person was from another school, and they were so kind enough to show me their resume. They work for Pfizer.
Okay.
So they showed me their resume that got them into Pfizer, and I structured my resume just like that. And I had so many like offers between like applying for jobs and like and fixing my resume and applying for jobs. So resume is a very important aspect of the entire thing. You want to make sure that you format it in a way that's appealing to American employer. And the best way to do that is by talking to people that are in the field already,
in the field.
and getting their feedback on your resume.
Yeah.
So that's about that. Let's talk about like interview process. So there's this pressure. Let me just put out there. There's this pressure for people to like speak in a certain way when they appear for interview. How do you go about the interview process in your own case? How many interview calls? That's an unfair question, because I know you probably did a lot of interview. I did too. But how did you gain confidence to navigate the interview process and get a job? So that is 3-1. I have 3 posts. He has one.
I'm just distracted.
Another one.
Because I'm investing my time in understanding what to say.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, for the interview process, honestly speaking, I feel I've had this mindset of be you. I'll be very honest with you.
Yeah.
And when I'm going into any interview, I go with the mindset of, Toby, the worst is what? The same way for the visa interview.
Yeah.
The worst is we don't want you. So be you, make it more conversational.
Yeah.
And those are the things I did. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going in to be asking questions. So what do you do? I'm going in with the mindset of I have something to offer for the company.
Yeah.
You guys would need my skill.
Yeah.
So listen to what I have to say.
Yeah.
I want to also listen to you and see if we both, come on the same,
Yeah.
And that should be the mindset when you're looking for job. Not that you are going there like, hey,
I need this job because I
I
need to stay. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, there's always that fear too, because you know when you are done, there's a condition of you want to get a job in 3 months when you are done in school and all of that.
Yeah.
There's that pressure. At the same time, be confident enough and all of that. So to be more specific for me, I've always been speaking like this. I'm not going to lie.
I will not start investing American accent because I want a job.
Exactly.
Yes.
I'm not coming and be speaking like who I am not. At that time, that's when they don't even understand what you're saying.
Because you're using it. Yeah.
Yes. So from start, I've always been big on clarity of thought.
Yeah.
Like making it as simple as possible, such that whoever is listening to me, they get what I'm saying, even though I'm not pronouncing it the way they want me to pronounce it.
Yeah.
But I am clear with the thought. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm able to say it a little bit. I mean, I've only been here for how long? Digger brand say you don't expect me to start speaking like an average American. Yeah. It's very different. So I would say don't form the accent that you don't have. Don't overdo it. In fact, that way they struggle to even hear
what you're saying.
So I didn't have that mindset. My mindset was be you. I'm making this conversational. I also want to let them know that I have something to offer to the company.
Yeah.
And that gives some level of confidence. As,
You said something that I would like to add to, which is the issue of confidence. I strongly believe that confidence comes largely from having several dry runs. And what that means is that if you're applying for a particular position, say you've submitted 300 applications, you get like 10 call back, which is a very high number, by the way. So you get 10 interview.
Yeah.
Your first interview is going to be very awful, like bad, terrible. You would even leave the interview and be like, oh yeah, I'm not getting this job. And you're right, you're probably not going to get the job.
Yeah.
But as time goes on, by the time you get to say like your 5th or 6th interview, you kind of get better at it. Yes.
Questions are sometimes they repeat questions.
And then you get to a point where like you say things, when a question comes, when you hear a question during an interview, you're not thinking about it because you answered that same question like 2 days ago.
Yeah, exactly.
So you know what to say. And I remember when I was interviewing for jobs, right? I think I gave a particular interview, and the person, one of the person I was interviewing was like, how long have you been interviewing for? That sounded so articulate.
Exactly.
And I'm like, I'm an international student. I've been
Student.
interviewing for a minute. So point is, you need so many dry run, and that leads to my next point, which is you need to start early. When would you advise people to start applying for jobs if they're graduating in say fall? When would you advise that they start applying for jobs?
I would say personally,
He was scared I was going to stop. But continue.
so I honestly would say I want to be careful here
Yeah.
because it's different for people. People have different luck too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I would say the moment you start your last semester.
Yeah.
Because if you start way too early as well, many companies will not want to wait for you.
That's true.
For that position,
Yeah.
and they, you lose. And honestly speaking, look at it from the psychological point of view. You've probably gotten like 2 offers, and they're like,
you miss out on this,
and that might not give you the ginger to even apply the time you are now meant to, put in the energy.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm trying to say? So
Yeah.
I would say, many companies will not have problem with waiting 4 months, waiting 3 months, but if they have to wait 6 months, 8 months for a position that they need somebody to fill into,
almost immediately,
exactly, that might be a problem. So I would say if you are graduating fall, as before the week of before, in fact, the holiday, like let's say from summer, start looking into working on your CV, dropping it where you are meant to drop it.
Yeah.
Do few mock interviews with your friends. Get into the I'm about to start looking for a job. Get into that mindset already.
Yeah.
That really helps.
Yeah.
In most cases. Yeah.
I think that's good because I think I've had questions like that on the channel where people are asking me like, when should I apply for OPT? Where should I start applying for jobs? Mm-hmm. And you're right, because nobody's gonna wait for you to be done with your entire life for 6 months before. I missed out on the particular offer. Mm-hmm. I believe it's not my job because the hiring manager literally told me that, hey, even you put yourself in my shoe, will you wait for yourself? Like I needed somebody to fill this position yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah, he said that. So and when they asked me when are you starting, I'm like, when can you start? I said in 4 months time. They were like, oh yeah, sorry. So I think towards the end of your first semester is an ideal time. Towards the end of at the beginning of your last semester. That's an ideal time to start. And this, it goes without saying that I want to ask this question. It's probably the last question I'm going to ask because the game is about to be done and I've whooped his ass. Score is 3-2 right now, by the way. And the question I want to ask is, how do you suggest that people respond to the question of would you require sponsorship when they're applying for jobs? What would you say? What's your view on how you respond to that?
Yeah, my view is at the same time, at the end of the day, it's still all about you. Do you have plans as to how you want your journey to be like when you're done with school? What routes are you taking into getting your residency? What route do you want to take as to settling down? Do you get? I believe every F1 student should be thinking about this while you're still in school. Know what you want to do. So for many people, they already have it figured out. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. And in that case, they can answer that question confidently. No, I don't want it because I already have a route planned. I don't need you guys to do it. For some people, they already had mindset of, okay, it's going to be H1B. And if it is going to be H1B, definitely the jobs you'll be applying for are jobs where,
they offer
sponsorship. I mean, that's somewhat my limit the number of jobs you want to, the options you have as to applying to jobs. And for some people who wants to do die hard, okay, we'll talk about it when I resume, all this kind of thing. Okay, I have 3 years OPT. Let's not worry about that now. Let's worry about that when I'm, And for some people, they want to go back to their country. You get what I'm saying? Okay, I'll just do the 3 years. Let me get the experience and go back to my country. So it all depends on how you want to, to undo it. But I mean, it's all
the
about
ball is in
your court.
The ball is in your court. I mean, typically when you open your mouth and talk, employers know you probably need sponsorship or not. No, it's true. It's true. And I think from my perspective, I've gotten into issues before where like I was talking to somebody and I was like, well, just say you require sponsorship, and some other time it's not as straightforward as that. It's not as easy as that. But in wrapping up, one thing that I would like to talk about is that America is a very complex society. It's complex in the sense that things are not straightforward. Even when there are rules, it's not as like white and black as you would think it is, which means you need information to be able to
Information, yes.
navigate most of those
Yeah.
things. And you said something that is very, very important, like anticipate what's next for you as regards
Yeah,
to,
exactly.
is it H1B path that you want to take? Is it national interest waiver or EB1 ABC that you want to take? Or is it, do you have somebody that you are dating that
People
you're in love
even
with?
struggle with, do I want to graduate or not?
Or
and
not,
that way,
yes.
you are not sure. You don't start applying for jobs on time. You
Yeah.
don't start, doing what. So you need to make that decision.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to graduate and I want to look for a job. Oh, I
Yeah.
want to graduate and I want to do PhD.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we understand that fear. Like, oh, I'm not sure if I want to graduate. You need to make that decision.
Yeah. I think that's a very solid advice. Like you need to make the decision on what you want to do,
Exactly.
and then plan ahead of time. And I mean, what's the worst that can happen? Your plan doesn't work out. Yeah, that's good. I mean, not good, but it's okay. At least you have a plan.
Exactly.
Right. So, well, that's all we have as far as transitioning from being a student to being a working class is concerned. And if you're not leaving this video with anything, it's the fact that number one, you need to be able to plan ahead of time. Number two, you need to fix your resume in such a way that it's appealing to American employer. Number three, you need to have confidence when you give interviews, and the confidence comes from you having several dry runs of those interviews.
Yeah.
And that's basically all that we have to share. And I'm also happy to announce to you that as a host of this YouTube video, I did not fail you guys. I had 3 goals and he had 2 goals. And it's also important to note that he was playing with PSG. Paris Saint-Germain is probably the strongest team on PS5 FIFA 24.
You could have used that too. I don't care.
Well, I wanted to be nice to my guest, but that's all I have for you. That's all we have for you. I think we've done enough as far as sharing our path and our story is concerned.
Exactly.
And hopefully you find this video helpful. Do not forget to like the video. Do not forget to subscribe. And most importantly, do not forget to share this video to someone that you think might find the content very helpful. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.